Hi everyone. So I'm going to show you how we created our project today in class so that you can catch up and create it on your own if it's something that you're interested in. First, let me share my screen with you to show you what concept we talked about in art today. Today, we were looking at space. So when we think of space, we automatically assume that we're talking about outer space. So we have all of the stars and the planets and the sun, and we think comets, and we think, ooh, outer space. But when we're talking about space in art, we're actually talking about the specific organization of how objects and elements of the picture are put together. So when you're talking about space in art, you're talking about the foreground, the middle ground, and what's called the background. The foreground are the items in a picture that are the closest to us. So they're the things that are closest to us. The middle ground is all the things that fill up the middle part of the picture. And the background is the part that's farthest away from us. So the stuff that's way, way back there, far away from us. So these are the items that we're talking about when we talk about space in art. The foreground, the middle ground, and the background, how we organize a picture. So when we look at this picture here, the artist has used a silhouette and done palm trees and a car and somebody putting something into their car. All of the things you see in black are the foreground, the stuff that is closest to us. The water is the middle ground, and the sunset and the sky are what's called the background. So that's easy to see when we look at this picture that somebody has created. But when we look at something, a photograph from real life, we can see the same types of concepts. So in this picture, you see that the lower waves right here that are crashing into the beach, this is the foreground. The middle ground is this area here with the water and the waves starting to roll. And the ship and the sky right here along this horizon line, that is called the background. So what we're going to create today is our own version of a seascape showing the foreground. And for kindergarten and first grade, we're going to do the foreground and we're going to do the background. Now this is a sculptural picture, so it's in 3D. I can open this up and see that this is the background, and then we can bring the foreground right in front, okay? And we talked about in class, when you're looking at me on Zoom right here, what is in the foreground? Well, I, Mrs. Kane, am in the foreground. I'm the part of the picture that is closest to you. And I can get closer like this, but I'm still the foreground. I'm the front of the picture. And these things that are behind me back here, these are part of the background. Okay, so today you're gonna need a piece of paper, some coloring supplies, and a pair of scissors. Okay, I'm going to switch to my document camera and show you how we're gonna complete today's project. So we saw when I showed you the project that this is folded. This is a folded artwork, okay? What you need to do is take your piece of paper, and I'm gonna turn my paper this way so it's horizontal, long ways. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold this paper in half. To do that, I'm gonna match up the two corners here and here, and then I'm going to press down. Now my paper is opened like a book, like this. Okay, the next thing you're going to do, and I'm going to use a black Sharpie just to make it a little bit easier to see on this document camera, but you're going to make a wavy line. Now, you don't want to make it too crazy of a wavy line. You want to make it fairly simple because you're going to have to cut on this curve, okay? So you don't want to make it too crazy. So you're going to go a little more. This is about halfway up my paper, and I'm going to go a little bit farther. I'm going to go up about 3/4 of the way. So a little bit more than halfway up my paper. And I'm going to make a wavy line. Okay, now remember my paper is folded in half right now. And it doesn't matter if your paper is opening the opposite direction. Either way is going to work out just fine. Okay, so you've made your wavy line. Then you're going to open up your paper like this, and along this folded line, you're going to draw from the curve up to the top. Okay, now this section, you don't have to color yours, but I'm going to just show you. This is the section that we want to cut out of our paper. So this is going to be cut out, meaning I'm going to cut along this curve and I'm going to cut up this straight line. Now, if you are new to using scissors, this is great practice, but make sure that you have your mom or dad or grandma, grandpa, make sure you have permission before you start using the scissors. I'm going to cut along this straight line first, and you'll see I only have cut just on that line. I didn't cut all the way down the paper, just on that line. Then, if it's easier for you, you can turn your paper, and then you're going to cut along the curve. When you're cutting, you want to hold your scissors as straight as possible and rotate the paper. So that's easier than, you just rotate your paper. That's easier than turning your scissors all these different directions. You keep your scissors nice and straight and you turn the paper, okay? So now this is scrap, we can put that in the recycling. Okay, so now when you fold this together, you have your foreground, which is going to be your wavy area, and the background, okay? And when I unfold it, it looks like this. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time coloring on the video because I want you to have a shorter video and you can get to work, okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add in whatever details you want for the foreground. So you could use a marker, or you could use some crayon and add in some waves. You can color this. You could take some different color markers and add in some little fish jumping. You could add in some shark tails. You could add somebody surfing. Okay, get creative with it. And add the details you want for your picture. I'm going to give these fish a little smiley face. They're happy fish. There's no sharks around. Okay, so now I have my foreground. So you go ahead and color that and make that look really beautiful, okay? So now I have my foreground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this and I'm going to trace, I'll use my blue marker, I'm going to trace along this folded line, okay? I'm going to trace along this folded line so that I have that same wave line on my background paper. Now on your background, so these are the things that are in the background of the picture. So on that picture that we saw, there was a ship and a sunset. If you want to draw a ship, you can draw a straight line and then curve down into that wave. Part of the boat goes under the water, right? And then for a sail, I'm just going to create the mast. I'm going to make a post going straight up, and you can make your sails out of basic shapes, triangles, okay? And then here you could draw a large sun rising up from the horizon. And you can color this any beautiful colors that you would like. And remember, the sky is not always colored blue, right? Sometimes we have a pink sky. Sometimes we have an orange sky, a red sky, a yellow sky, gray sky. So you can color this however you like. If you want to add some birds, I always think of those as like a letter M, but a little bit stretched out. Okay, a little stretched. So you can go ahead and you can color in using your markers, or you can use crayons to color in the rest of your background. Add any details you want on your ship. Yes, I'm going to make mine made out of wood. And we've talked about in class how you can stagger the planks of wood to make it look a little more realistic. And so you can go ahead and color this in with any colors that you want, and you can use whatever materials you have available. So if you have colored pencils, you can color this in with colored pencils. If you're working with crayon or marker, you can color it in with crayon and marker. And then when you're finished, you'll have a sculptural artwork that shows foreground and background. And here is an example of a finished product, all colored nice. And you can see, I'll show you how this can stand up. So you can display this. You can display this sculpturally standing up, how you would display a card. So I hope you have fun creating your foreground and background picture. Send me some pictures if you create this on your own.